Welcome back to So, What's Your Story? In 1963, the Plymouth Car Company designed the Fury. The earlier model was a bit smaller and had a hard time competing with the more sporty models from the other car manufacturers. In 1972, when I was 17, I had purchased my 1963 four-door Fury for $250. It was not the sport model, but the more luxurious model. The solid black paint was accented by a pure white interior. The feature I was most excited about was the fold down armrest in the front seat and the push button shifting on the dash. The engine is what they called the polyspheric, or nicknamed the Poly, 318 cubic inch V8, which was rated at 230 horsepower. As I recall, I used to average about 18 to 20 miles per gallon, which was considered quite good for a V8. The one irritable quirk was that every 100 miles or so, I had to remove the driver's side valve cover from the engine, remove the valve adjusting bolt, wrap sewing thread into the worn threads, or I think they were cross threaded, to make a tight fitting, and then adjust the valve for the next 100 miles or so. Instead of the traditional cork valve cover gaskets, I purchased the neoprene valve cover gaskets for easy removal. But that was my car, and I was willing to do whatever I had to do so I could take it on my adventures. It was a dream car and just a wonderful car to drive for sure. For the wintry setting of this story, I had purchased retreaded snow tires for both the front and back of the Fury. This allows for better tracking for the turning and driving during our Adirondack mountain winters in New York State. The historical note on retreaded tires is also quite interesting. In 1839, American inventor Charles Goodyear discovered the process of vulcanization by mere accident. He had dropped a mixture of rubber and sulfur onto a hot stove, which caused the material to char and harden rather than melting the substances. This over time led to the breakthrough of making rubber resistant to heat and cold, giving it the durability that could be then used in industry. I'm sure many folks who have cars today have heard of the Goodyear Tire Corporation. The vulcanization process has two principal processes: the procurement or cold retreading and the mold cure or hot retreading. Both methods are used to bond either pre-molded tire tread, cold method, or raw tread rubber, hot, to the prepared used tire. Both applications then heated the combination of the used tire and the new rubber or new rubber mold to the desired temperatures to permanently bond the new tread to the used tire. Vulcanization has created a completely new industry of tire manufacturing and thus helps produce or reduce waste by reusing already manufactured tires, and they are substantially cheaper. The typical savings is 30 to 50% cheaper than a new tire. This story includes my brother Dave, as I said before, and myself. We both worked at the Silver Bell ski area in the year of 1974. We frequently took what the locals called the Gilmantown Road, which back then was only partially paved. The average speed that one had to take on this very windy and hilly back road was about 30 miles per hour. The final descent to the town of Wells was paved quite steep and it was very windy. The road was cut between two mountain ridges and followed the very windy Elbow Creek that followed into the Algonquin Lake at the town of Wells. On this particular day, very confident that my new retreaded tires would help me control Old Fury in the hardest of conditions, and that traffic on this road at the still dark winter morning would be nil. I offered a challenge to my brother. Do you think I can hit the hairpin turn at the end of the descent at 50 miles an hour? His response, remember in my last story I shared one of his model sayings, no fear. His answer, you'll never know unless you try. Before I continue, let me share with you a safely intelligent and controlled trip down that descent and around the hairpin turn to give you an idea of what the challenge was trying to accomplish. So this is the beginning of the Toboggan Fury run. And as I said, I challenged my brother. I said, do you think I can take this at 50 miles an hour and not hit the brakes and make the corners down into Wells? So imagine both sides of the road with, maybe 2 to 3 foot snowbanks. And down we go. And down further, and now we're going to come into the S corners right here, and this is where the Old Fury decided to go up and around, and then it came over here and hit the banks on this side, and by the grace of God, we made it through. Before I continue our adventure, let me add a warning to any of the young drivers watching. Many adventures that mankind has endeavored have been successful because of careful planning, advanced safety precautions for both the participants and the spectators. But on this day, none of that was on display. This adventure gave no thought of oncoming traffic that might occur, no thought of any harm that might come to both driver and passenger, and no thought of where the vehicle and passengers might end up. Remember, the road was paralleling the river. But as the saying goes, you can't fix stupid. These two took off down the descent and started maintaining the speed of 50 miles per hour, and with only the grace of their creator, entered the hairpin turn. I veered to the far left of the road to be able to see if there were any approaching car lights, and with none in sight, we entered the first corner. All was going well, tires gripping what sand and pavement were available on the fairly fresh plowed road until the apex of the corner. Now, those of you who have taken any science at all know the law of inertia, known as Newton's first law of motion, and it states an object in motion will continue moving a constant velocity in a straight line, unless it is acted upon by an unbalanced external force. The weight of the Fury was approximately 3,500 pounds. So at 50 miles per hour, that is a lot of object. Research will show that during the winter of 1974, there was about 120 to 160 inches of snow, which created some very high snowbanks on the hairpin turn. Trusty tires on Old Fury lost grip. Brother Dave let out a loud gasp from lip. Into the bank inertia did take Old Fury and passengers with mighty yank, like Olympic bobsled riding the bank, to the top, then sank. Not to the river, but other bank Old Fury did cruise. My heart sank. To our surprise and saving grace, old Fury and retreads maintained the pace. From top of bank 2 back to the road did old Fury safely hold. So, what's your story?